Boys, there's just some nights, where your brain just won't shut up. You're laying in bed, your mind is wondering on what could have been. And that happened to me last night. Your boy was wondering, what could have happened if we had these fights, if these title fights that were announced didn't get canceled? And I only got a few here. I'm not gonna lie. I got 7 of them. It's not like I have the most amount of them, but I got 7. With that being said, I don't know if there's more. There's probably a few more that I'm missing, and these are strictly only title fights. So if I'm missing some title fights, or if you want me to do another part of this of just fights in general, let me know in the comments below. But we're gonna be going over some canceled title fights that still haunt me at night. With that being said, do we have to break down the first one? It's clear the number one fight that got away from us, regardless if we know what the outcome would have been. It is and will always will be Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. It will always be that fight. It got canceled a record-breaking 3 times. It got so bad that 2009, it had to get canceled because of the fucking pandemic. We had to create a whole new China disease in order for this fight not to happen. First one, weight miss, from Khabib, had to get his ass transported to the hospital. Second one, my boy El Kukui fucking tore up his knee because he tripped on a wire doing an interview. Third one's the lucky charm. We needed to create a whole ass virus to take this one out. With that being said, yes, do we probably know what the outcome would have been for this fight? Yeah. Would Khabib still be undefeated? Most likely. However, I will die on this hill when I say Tony Ferguson would be the one and only fighter to have cut and made Khabib bleed in that octagon. I will stand on that shit to the day I die. That being said, he probably gets mauled. With that being said, Tony probably still gets mauled. Does that mean I don't want to watch this fight? No. I need to see this fight. I can't wait for our dumbass to invent some sort of other timeline traveling, because best believe my ass is jumping into a different timeline where we saw this fight. And yeah, I would say this is the biggest fight on this list, the biggest what if fight, and the biggest fight that constantly gets brought up when you talk about canceled title fights. But yeah, how could it not be on this one? This is the one that kept countless people up at night just thinking, what if this fight happened? Let's go down though. One that you guys have probably forgot about, and one that I just wish that we had. UFC 250. Cejudo versus Aldo. Now, instead, we got a short notice Dominic Cruz versus Cejudo. I would have loved to have seen Cejudo versus Aldo. This would have been, prime Henry Cejudo before he hung up the gloves and then had that fake retirement and came back all washed. This would have been Cejudo at his best versus an Aldo that was still very good. People think that, Aldo just automatically went out of his prime when Conor knocked him out. No, Conor was just better that night. This would have been low-key a prime versus prime, Cejudo versus Aldo, and this would have just ended up as a classic title fight, a good fight for both of their legacy. And it sucks because we could have gotten this fight, earlier this year. Last year, we could have got that fight. But the UFC is just a brain-dead, retarded company when it comes to matchmaking sometimes, where this one just slipped through our fingers. And it fucking kills me. It is what it is. We could have had this fight happen. That's the worst part about it, is that we could have had this fight even though it was canceled as a title fight. This could have been a non-title fight, but the UFC hates us. Let's keep moving down though to a pretty recent one. I got Islam Makhachev versus Arman. And the thing that sucks about this one is Makhachev's, title career will unfortunately just have a shit ton of asterisks beside it, because we go through his career and every single title fight was a former featherweight. You got Charles Oliveira, a former featherweight. Alex Volkanovski, former featherweight twice. Dustin Poirier, a former featherweight. Moicano, a former featherweight. Now, yes, they all did their best work outside of Volkanovski in that lightweight division, but there wasn't a big lightweight in there with him, Arman would have been that big lightweight and would have been that big test, that big fight for Makhachev. The biggest fight, the most dangerous fight he had. And does that mean that Makhachev only wanted to fight smaller guys? No, he's moving up and fighting JDM. But nonetheless, this would have, in my opinion, solidified him as one of the GOATs of the sport and for sure the GOAT of the lightweight division. With that being said, though, fuck Arman. Arman really fucked over everything in this fight, and it's completely his fault, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Another one of these what if. I remember the morning waking up to that fight news that Arman is out. I was so mad because that fight card was stacked and I was looking forward to that title fight for a long time. And then he pulls out and we get fucking Moicano on short notice. Yeah, I still remember the pain I felt for that morning. That being said, let's keep moving down, because we have another fight that would have been fun. Do I think this would have been the fight to give this fighter his first loss? I don't think so. But we did have, during this whole Tony versus Khabib situation, I believe the second fight, we had Max Holloway here, who is going to come up short notice, move up in weight and fight Khabib. And the doctors forced him to stop cutting weight. So, this was also a cursed title fight that just never ended up happening. Looking back at it, again, would have been one of these legacy type of matchups. And I don't think Holloway really would have had much success against Khabib. We saw what happened when Max Holloway went up in weight to fight Dustin Poirier on short notice. Was a little bit fat, was a little bit slow out there, didn't look his best. And I think the same thing would have happened here. I think Khabib probably would have mauled him pretty easily. And out of all of these fights, probably would have been the easiest title fight out of all of these that got canceled. And yeah, Khabib would have done nasty things to Max Holloway. So am I all that upset about it? Not really. But again, it's just one of these legacy type of matchups. It's one of these big, especially now with the run that Holloway's on, looking at it in the future, this would have been like a super fight. But it is what it is. Am I that upset about it? Not really. And to be honest, one of the cancel fights on this list that I'm not that butthurt about. But another one that I'm butthurt about that I think would have been a fight of the year type of fight, would have been a crazy fight, and would be on par of one of the best fights that this dude had in his career. Talking about RDA versus McGregor. And we had RDA pull out because of his broken foot, and we had to get that whole Nate Diaz treatment. So honestly, is it that big of a deal? No, we got the whole Diaz feud. Honestly, some of the best fights and best build-ups in the entire UFC as a promotion. So good things did happen from it, but good things did not happen from this next pullout. Is a Makhachev Charles Oliveira 2. Now, if you guys don't remember, Oliveira had a pullout and we got a terrible short notice Volkanovski, which, we all know what happened after that. But yeah, is a Makhachev versus Oliveira 2. Do I think it would have really changed, the outcome from the first fight? Not really. Do I think maybe Oliveira could have had a little bit more success? Possibly. But Makhachev had just proven that he's just miles better than most of the guys at lightweight. With that being said, would I still have loved to have seen this fight? Yeah. Would I have rather have seen Oliveira get finished again than seen my GOAT go out there short notice and get head kicked and then get flatlined after that? Honestly, yeah, I would rather see my boy Oliveira get choked out again or knocked out rather than see my boy Volk do it. But it is what it is. Let's just run through the final one, because this one is low-key a banger. And this is an old one. Aldo versus Pettis. This was supposed to be UFC 163, and Pettis had a knee injury, so he had to get pulled out. It is what it is. This was at the time a very close type of 50-50 type of fight, and I would have loved to have seen this one. I think we got the Korean Zombie versus Aldo instead. And again, this would have been a fight where if you're trying to introduce new fans to the sport, you point them to this title fight. That's what I think this fight could have been. Aldo versus Pettis. Both these dudes at their prime, and a 50-50 type of fight. Most people picking Aldo to win, but there was a significant amount of people thinking that Pettis could have got it done, and I wouldn't count Pettis out during this fight at this point in time. But those are my canceled fights that still haunt me to this day, some just a little bit more than others. Let me know in the comments below, did I miss any title fights, and should I run this video back with just normal fights, not title fights, just normal canceled fights? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, because if we do the normal fights, there is so many more than just title fights. And even if we want to do a step further and do rumored fights that just never happened, like a Francis Ngannou versus a John Jones or something like that. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I will see you guys in my next video.